So I just beat the storyline for MK1 and I have major complaints. But before we get into them, I do want to give a little bit of shout out to some of the things that I enjoyed before we dive deep into me sort of just going at the storyline and the creators who were behind the story mode. So first off, I want to say the opening where we see the camaraderie between Kung Lao and Raiden, and we get to see their friendship really delve and how they've, pretty much known each other their whole lives, and they're pretty much like brothers. They're coming from humble beginnings. They're sort of farmers, like Luke Skywalker was in A New Hope, and it makes them really affable, easy to root for characters, and they're just really good people. I like seeing that. The character work in the first couple of chapters with the Earthrealm characters specifically, but even some of the other ones that we're going to get into, it was done really well. Johnny Cage and Kenshi starting off as enemies, and then we see their friendship go from combative to eventually they become close friends. We get to see those arcs pay off. The little moment where Johnny is applying the medicine to the blindfolded Kenshi because he can't put it on himself, and then he's putting it on him. And we get a great moment where the camera just stays on them for like 2 or 3 seconds while I believe Reptile and Baraka are speaking to each other. And it's just a nice little moment that shows that Johnny Cage is capable of caring for someone other than himself. And it harps back to that line where, Liu Kang is telling Raiden that, Johnny Cage is a hero. He just doesn't know it yet. And, that moment that Johnny gives Sento to Kenshi has so much more weight to it because we spent so much time with those two characters going back and forth about, hey, you're going to give me Sento? No, it's $3 million. If you got $3 million, then you can have it. That was all great character work. The Reptile and Baraka relationship as well, the way they related to one another as these beings who were seen as monsters, who were then forced to leave their people due to their afflictions, and how they overcome that, and how they're more than, their diseases and their abilities. That was great stuff. That was really great character work. The tensions between Outworld and Earthrealm during the tournament, the dissension and the deception going on between the inner workings of the Empire in the Outworld, that was all fascinating stuff. There was great stuff to be had there in the first 8 chapters of the game, but then they just flushed it all down the toilet. They just threw it all away. All that interesting setup and build up that you were doing leading up to this reveal. That huge exposition dump where it's revealed that, Shang Tsung of this timeline is not the real enemy, but rather it's a Titan Shang Tsung. It's another Shang Tsung. It's a Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat 11. And that actually the Mortal Kombat 11 storyline is still continuing because there was 2 endings in the Mortal Kombat 11 storyline. One where Liu Kang won, and then there's one where Shang Tsung won. And essentially, Shang Tsung from that timeline is the main villain of this game. So it begs the question, why is this game not called MK12? Why did Warner Brothers and NetherRealm advertise this as a brand new timeline, brand new iterations of these characters, a brand new world? You've never had to play the old ones before. This is something that's brand new. We're even going to call it Mortal Kombat 1 because this is the first iteration of this brand new storyline. And it just, for it to turn into a very confusing and another boring and bland multiverse story, I mean, that's a massive disappointment. I mean, the Avengers Endgame style war at the end where all the variants are coming together. I mean, why would I or anyone else care about all these variants, much less the main timeline characters? Because outside of a few Earthrealmers, like I mentioned earlier, we were hardly given any time to know these new iterations of the characters. So many characters were hardly used. I mean, they just flew by the Lin Kuei sub-storyline where, okay, Sub-Zero turned so quickly. I can sort of forgive that because it was obvious from the start that he was having, these villain tendencies. But Scorpion and Smoke got hardly any time to shine in the stories. The trailers hyped it up like we would see this brotherly bond between Kuai Liang and Smoke, and they got like maybe 3 minutes worth of dialogue in the whole game at most. I mean, Raiden was crowned as the champion of Earthrealm, and after the tournament happened, we didn't see much of Raiden up until like the last 2 chapters, and it was just for him to fight. We had no idea what he thought about anything that was going on. We got no time to spend with his character. What does Raiden think of all this? We don't know because we didn't see him for like 6 or 7 chapters after he won the tournament. I mean, so much was just thrown away. Like I said, I thought what we were getting with Outworld especially was I thought that General Shao was going to be more of a major player in the storyline. He was really making things personal with his hunger for power and his hate for Earthrealm, and specifically Raiden, with the way he kept going back and forth with Raiden and just kept disrespecting Raiden and Earthrealm and all their champions, you know, they were setting up for there to be great conflict between General Shao and the Earthrealm characters, and that was going to make for a really compelling fight at the end. But no, they just sort of got rid of all that, and then at the end, General Shao was just sort of this other generic bad guy who was just evil for evil's sake, and now we got to just fight him. But now the fight with General Shao at the end the stakes are just so diminished because they just took away so much time. They took away from so much of the careful buildup that they were giving to him in the first part of the game's story mode. So, you know, there's just so many questions now that need to be answered, and the answers don't even make much sense because okay, if you're gonna say that the MK11 ending has two canon endings, one where Liu Kang won and he was the one in charge of the universe, but then Shang Tsung got what he wanted and he's got his own timeline. Well, then why would he even care about what's happening in a different timeline if he got exactly what he wanted? Nobody would have even known about the multiple timelines if he just kept doing his thing and kept ruling in his own world. It makes no sense. The story, with you doing this multiverse story, you just wiped away all the buildup that you did in the first 8 chapters, and now this game brought nothing new to the table for this chapter in this new universe. There's nothing new that was brought to the table. There was no new villains, no new characters. It's just same old, really. I mean, it feels like we're sort of stuck with the ending too, where, Shang Tsung and Quan Chi aren't even killed. They're just put in prison. And, they're just imprisoned. And now we got, Lord Havoc showing up at the end. It just feels like we're sort of stuck in an infinite loop of always repeating the same storylines over and over with these characters. And it's very, very disappointing because as someone, and you could tell me, and please let me know in the comment section below if you feel like I'm in the minority here. As someone who has never played a Mortal Kombat game before, for the story modes, I've never played the story modes because I've always said I'm way too far behind. I'm too confused. I don't have any attachments to these characters. I don't know them. So why would I care? Well, now this game was advertised to me as, hey, this is a rebooted universe. You don't have to know what was going on before. You can just jump right into it and have a great time and get to know these characters, get to know this world. Well, this world is actually just the continuation of the other worlds that you told me to forget about. So why create this confusing false advertising with Mortal Kombat 1? This game really, again, should have just been called Mortal Kombat 12. I'm really disappointed with the direction they decided to take. I don't know who runs creative over at NetherRealm. I don't know if it's Ed Boon or if they have separate writers, but whoever decided to just, stick with this ending, this very confusing multiverse ending, I really don't like it, and it feels like a major cop out when, again, the first 8 chapters you set up this new world, this new timeline, these new characters, these new iterations of the characters. You set it up so well, and then you just sort of copped out at the last minute and said, no, actually, all that new stuff that we just gave you, don't worry about it. Here's some multiverse. We're just gonna throw some other Shang-Chi, some other Johnny Cage, some other variants, and here you go, blam. Let's call it a day. Let's wrap it up, and here's the game. It's very disappointing. It's very disappointing, and I know that now, the stinger at the end, the cutscene at the end, we're gonna see more of this storyline expand out, and it's probably gonna be leading into DLC. But I gotta say, I don't feel like there should be any hype for this DLC story, at least for me, because why should I care? Why should I care anymore about what's going on in this universe? Again, it could just be me being very upset right now, but I'm very curious to hear what you guys are thinking. Long term, hardcore MK fans and people who are more of new to the game and new to the storyline like myself. I want to hear what both of you have to say. But please let me know in the comment section below. And as always, if you want to stay up to date on all the latest in the movie news, TV news, and video game news, well, you're already in the right place. And I hope you consider subscribing to the channel because I would love to have you along for the ride. But until next time, this has been Millennial Media, and I will see you all very soon.